Hey everyone, welcome back to Kubrick Corner with me, Sean Wilson. There's a new Denzel Washington movie out, The Equalizer 2, or as I've seen people referring to it online, The Sequelizer, which I think is a much better title. The follow-up to the 2014 vigilante movie that ostensibly was based on the Edward Woodward 1980s TV series, although really it didn't know anything to that whatsoever. I mean, it was much more of a kind of Death Wish post-Taken cheapy in which Denzel Washington waxed lyrical and pontificated a bit before ultimately breaking out the nail guns in the DIY store at the end and basically killing everybody. I thought the first Equalizer, which directed by Antoine Fuqua, disappointingly, who has done great work before, was really not good at all and really quite boring. I have to say, I think that the follow up, the Equalizer 2, does mark a bit of an improvement, at least initially. What you get is an attempt at a slightly more characterful drama. I know that the first one alluded to character building moments, but it wasn't really a character building movie. It was just about how can we kill off all these Russian goons in all these horrible ways. There is at least a smidgen of intelligence, I think, in this one, where it picks up with Washington's character Robert McCall, who is now this kind of proto Uber driver, drives people around, listens to their problems, and responds to those problems either with a mixture of sort of gentle philosophy and sermonizing, or ultimately by stuffing people's heads through windows. Either approach tends to work. There is a sequence in which a girl who has been brutalized by this hideous gang of sort of like frat boy like guys is put in the back of his cabin. He goes up and promptly sorts all of them out. In a particular sequence. There is also, by contrast, there were some of the best sequences in the film involve Washington and the actor Ashton Sanders playing Miles, who is the guy that Robert McCall takes under his wing, who he doesn't want to sort of get involved in gang culture. Miles is he's an artist, and there's all this sort of semi-paternal thing going on underneath. That actually provides some of the best material in the movie. And frankly, if the whole of the movie had been just this picaresque movie in which Denzel Washington was by turns driving around listening to people and walking around listening to people, interspersed every now and then with him basically kicking people's heads in, that's a sort of movie that I actually would have quite enjoyed. That sort of slightly, maybe not plotless, but sort of drifting around and basically hoovering up Washington's star persona, because he is an extraordinary actor, and even in a piece of meat-headed nonsense like this, he is able to bring real pathos to it. There is a scene involving him and Ashton Sanders in which reminded me of some of the ferocity of Training Day, which obviously for which Washington won an Oscar and which remains one of his greatest performances. And I think he's a phenomenal actor. There's a reason why he's been in the business for 40 years. He can find nuance and empathy, in a piece of nonsense like this, where I think a lot of actors would really have struggled. Sadly, that sort of intrigue, that sort of character intrigue, can only carry the movie so far. And what you ultimately get is you get a descent into the sort of generic corporate conspiracy schlock that brought the first film down. And it basically, the sequel basically boils down to Denzel Neeson going around going, right, I'm going to kill everyone. And that's exactly what he does. And it's a real shame because it really does torpedo a lot of what I felt was the slightly interesting, maybe slightly meandering, but nevertheless interesting and reasonably emotive stuff in the first half of the movie. And frankly, if you don't spot who the bad guy of the film is within the first 10 minutes, you've really not been trying hard enough, because the movie really doesn't do a good job of disguising that. I mean, it's debatable whether it is actually aiming to disguise it or not. So not a complete disaster. I have to say I did prefer it to the first one. Elevated, shoulder high by Denzel Washington. Antoine Fuqua, the director, can do so much better than this. Of course, he did direct Training Day. He's also done some real stinkers as well, like King Arthur and Tears of the Sun, both of which were absolutely terrible. I mean, this is better than them, but nowhere near the level of Training Day. So the fans of the original are bound to get more out of this, and I imagine those who want some of the relatively more streamlined nastiness of the original, the superficial nastiness of the original, in which it was literally about how many power tools can we use on the baddies, might get a little bit more frustrated with this one. Personally, I like the character building moments in this one. I wasn't as interested when it just got down to business and when Denzel was just going to go around and basically obliterate everyone off the face of the planet. I'm not really interested in that. I've seen enough movies with people doing that at the moment, and it's starting to come across as a slightly hackneyed, fairly ridiculous fantasy that I don't think plays very well in the culture that we're in at the moment, either politically or culturally. So mixed bag on the Equalizer 2. If you've seen it, drop me a comment here at Kubrick Corner, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.